We are AAA, accountant, accountant, and accountants, and while we were auditing Triangle Ball Club, we were asked to investigate potential fraud. First, I'd like to give a little bit of background about Triangle Ball Club. Their main sources of revenue are ticket sales, parking concessions, programs, and promotional fundraising, while their main expenses include equipment, concession goods, programs, team travel, and payroll. However, one main observation during the audit was that Ben Hill, the office manager, seems to have the last say in many of the expenses and revenues, which we investigated further. So next, I'd like to give an overview. While we provided extensive backgrounds of employees and data about company activities, further investigation showed us three areas where fraudulent activity was occurring. This is in the payroll, the sales, and the equipment. All three of these categories combined summed up about $6,913.82 of fraudulent activity. Within payroll, we found that there were 3 fake temporary employees that were collecting salaries, and for ticket sales, we found that TBC was recording fewer ticket sales than actually sold. Finally, for equipment, we found that they were not receiving the number of units actually purchased. The units not received were being sold to third party for profit. So the first fraud we'd like to go in depth with is payroll. As I said, the 3 game day employees from ADP payroll that cannot be found on the timesheets that were prepared by Candy Harris are McCully M, Tablot T, and Owens. All of their paychecks had been cashed to Jessica Keller, who seems to be a fraudulent account. As you can see, the 3 different employees sum up to about $148.23, which in Jessica Keller's account occurs 6 different times. The next fraud we'd like to talk about is ticket sales. The ticket sales ledger between Myrna and Ben Hill differ in the same periods in dollar amounts and also match the deposits in Jessica Keller's bank account. So what was happening here was that Ben Hill was recording that fewer tickets were sold than actually occurred and was funneling that extra revenue into Jessica Keller's bank account in different types of tickets. So as you can see, on 4 different dates, he funneled $504, $748, about $1,000, and $1,700 into Jessica Keller's account. The third fraud we'd like to talk about is the equipment fraud. So recently, Ben switched equipment providers to one of his friends, Sports Equipment Inc., around early June. While the invoices from Sports Equipment Inc. were compared to TBC's invoices and recorded inventory, the price and quantity of the items differed. Finally, we discovered that the missing items were sold by Charlie Thurgood to Play It Again Sports, where Ben Hill then received 50% as the proceeds. As you can see, it matches Jessica Keller's deposits in her account of about $339 once, $817, about $900, and then, of course, $22 later. So after we discovered these 3 frauds, we'd now like to talk about the fraud triangle. So the fraud triangle is comprised of the opportunity, rationalization, and pressure. So on the opportunity side, there was weak internal control in the company, and Ben Hill touches most of the transactions of the firm. On the rationalization side, Ben Hill has child support and rent payments that are very important, and the company will still be profitable. Finally, under pressure, he has large amounts of child support and rent due, while he has a limited salary. So he's using some of this money from the company to pay it off. So the primary perpetrator is Ben Hill. He's been with the company for about 3 years and has an accounting background. He's currently financially distressed, paying alimony and child support, as well as rent for his apartment, which he always pays late and with cash. As office manager, Ben has inserted himself into each functional area where fraud has occurred. Next, the second perpetrator is Charlie Thurgood. Charlie Thurgood is a longtime friend of Ben's and is TBC's new equipment supplier. He personally delivers all the equipment from Sports Equipment Inc. So finally, we'd like to talk about how this money laundering was occurring. On the left-hand side, you can see Jessica Keller's bank account along with the source of deposit or fraud, and it alternated between payroll, ticket sales, and equipment. In the second exhibit, you can see the withdrawals from Jessica Keller's bank account, which match perfectly in the third and fourth figures the amount required to pay his rent, for Ben Hill to pay his rent to his landlord, as well as the child support payments, which, as we know, were paid in cash. So finally, as a conclusion, we identified 3 sources of fraud, which were payroll, ticket sales, and equipment, and the perpetrators were mostly Ben Hill and Charlie Thurgood, although other employees were probably complacent in the process. Thanks. Again, we are AAA accountant, accountants.